And during this time, we wanted to make sure I call it the COVID series. We want to make sure we're bringing valuable information to our group, as well as those who are not necessarily a part of our group, but we're just wanting to be an information source. If you can put your just a quick chat hello inside the chat box so we know that you can hear us. Hi, Jennifer Newman. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Margot, Michelle, Nikki, Roderick. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Vanessa. Vanessa, we're going to have to do a virtual with you. So this morning we have Tamecia with Harvest Tax Time, Alischia Hatcher. We have Hugh Bishop. I want you guys to introduce yourselves and what organization or what company basically you are with, where it's located. And we'll start with you, Tamecia.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'd like to first start by thanking the Southern Crescent Women in Business for organizing this. It's always great to find ways to stay connected in this particular, situation. So glad to see some faces, and I'm looking forward to having the conversation. I'm Tamecia, I'm the founder and owner of Harvest Time Tax Plus Financial Services in Stockbridge, Georgia. And ironically, I started this business about 10 years ago after a job loss. And my goal ever since has been to be a quality and trusted, knowledgeable service provider in the industry. And as you know, the tax laws are ever changing. So what I do is ensure that I get continuing education every year and certification through the IRS to ensure that I'm ready to prepare returns. And my office offers bookkeeping, tax services, and audit support for individuals and small businesses. And we do offer remote virtual services as well.
Thank you. Hugh?
I'm Hugh Bishop. I'm a CPA with Brumlow and Company. We've been in the North Fayette area for about 30 years. We were actually up in Riverdale for some of those years, but mostly North Fayette. We work with a lot of small businesses. That's our main focus, helping them with their bookkeeping, of course, taxes. We do a lot of tax representation for the Internal Revenue Service as well. We are a full service CPA firm. We can do audits. We actually have one audit that we do annually, as well as other attest services for clients. We're working our way through all of the stimulus package that was just passed with our clients now, trying to help them fulfill all their reporting requirements, and then we'll figure out what we need to do in the tail end to report back what actually transpired, because I know the government's going to want some of that information.
Right. All right, thank you. And Alischia.
Hi, I'm Alischia Hatcher with Express Tax and Financial Services. This is also our 10-year anniversary. I am actually a virtual. Thank you. We're also a virtual company. I do tax preparation. We do accounting, mobile notary. I provide document services, and soon to provide life and health insurance.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so guys, if we want to just go ahead and jump in. So, of course, we know there was the CARE Act that was passed. Through that CARE Act, there has been there are supposed to be funds that will be disseminated. I'm sure there will be. The question is when. I think at this point, and how. As I mentioned earlier, I understand through the IRS's website that there is going to be a portal created for those who don't already have direct deposit information that's readily available to the federal government. So Tamecia, you want to start us off with what you understand?
Sure. So as you mentioned, with the stimulus payments, it's going to be, hopefully everybody will start getting some of the money soon. They're going to be disseminating payments starting with the lowest income earners first, people who have earned under $10,000 and who have elected to be paid through direct deposit. So that's why it is critical that you ensure that you file your 2018 and 19 taxes, because they are using that information to determine how to send the money to you. What I was able to find was through the Washington Post that the $10,000, well, the people who get the $10,000 or less in income, they're going to be paid by April 24th. And people who get income $20,000 and up May 1st, and then $40,000 and up by May 15th. And any higher income earners will receive their payments by September 4th.
Hugh, what do you understand about that?
Well, the other thing that comes in is if somebody's on Social Security, IRS already has their information through the Social Security Administration. They should be getting their $1,200 deposit without having to file anything. You know, if somebody's only on Social Security, they're not required to file a tax return. Only if they have other income could it trigger them filing a tax return. I do agree that if somebody hasn't filed their 18 and 19 tax return, they need to file them as soon as possible. Even if they owe money, they still need to, as a tax preparers, we need to put their banking account information in the return so that the money could be direct deposited to the individuals.
Okay, so can we first start off with the breakdown of what the stimulus package actually is giving out to individuals, to families, to those with children, for just a little background. Alischia, do you want to take that?
Sure. So individuals will receive $1,200. Married filing jointly will get $2,400. Families with people with children get $500 per child. Now, I don't know if there's a limit. I've heard different things. Do either you or Tamecia know if there's a limit for the kids?
I've heard there is not a limit.
Okay. So, for instance, if you're an individual with 2 kids, then of course you're going to get $1,000 for the 2 kids, and you're going to get $1,200 for yourself, which equals $2,200. If you want to do the math.
Okay. And my understanding also was you did not need to file. Just if we can also break down the income limits on those as well. Either one of you.
Okay, well, if you're under 75,000 as an individual, you'll get the $1,200. If you go over 75,000, and I forgot the total phase out, but as you go up above the 75,000, that dollar amount will come down, and I think it's like 90-something thousand where it's 100% phased out. If you're married filing jointly, the amount is above 150,000. If you're above 150,000, the amount you'll receive will start being phased out.
Mm-hmm.
At a household as well, the income limit is 112 and 500. So if you make more than that, then that's the phase out limit for head of household. And those are individuals who are unmarried and have dependents.
Okay. All right. And so you guys have basically said there's a phase. Tell us a little bit about the portal. Is anyone aware of that?
That's a good question. I mean, we've been reading about the portal from IRS, and you know, I'm on IRS's website a lot, and I haven't seen it yet. We have clients that have called in that haven't filed for the last several years for many different reasons, and they just want to do a tax return so they'll get in line for the stimulus money. I think as tax professionals, we got to be very careful. You know, if we know that an individual has a business behind them that's a pass-through entity and they haven't filed in the last couple of years, we just can't run out and file a tax return for them. So, we have to work with the clients trying to get them caught up so we can file those returns. But, back to the portal, hopefully we'll see it in the next week or two, and then we can start putting some information in. My individual tax pay clients that are on W-2s, I've been pushing them, if they're behind, pushing them to get, whatever information we need so we can complete that 18 and 19 return so we can get it into IRS, and then they'll be in line for the stimulus money.
Okay.
Just to add to that, anyone who did not file and needs to use that IRS portal once it is available, they will likely not receive their stimulus payments until after September 11th.
Wow. Okay. Let me just ask you this. So my understanding also was you did not necessarily have to file your 2019. As long as your 2018 was in, you were in line. Since
Correct.
they did actually extend the filing deadline. So, and they also did some other things. They delayed some payments from my understanding. Do you guys have any information on that?
So they delayed penalties and interest until July 15th, which is great because typically the tax extension only eliminates the late filing penalty. So for them to also delay interest on top of that is a good bonus. So that means that payments and interest will start to accrue after July 15th. So you still would, want to make sure that you have your payments ready to go by then.
Okay. So
I've
just from a
also,
business standpoint, okay, sorry, go ahead.
and
Hugh.
also, if somebody's making estimated tax payments in the past because of their income, that type of thing, that wasn't addressed in this. They still have to make their estimated tax payments April 15th and June 15th.
Okay, you kind of went out. Can you say that last part again?
I was saying that if anybody is required to make estimated tax payments during the year, the package, the stimulus package or the CARES Act doesn't address whether or not they can delay making those estimated payments. They still have to make their estimated payments on April 15th and June 15th, just
Okay.
like they would in any normal year.
Okay. So are there any specific guidelines that you want to give businesses, nonprofits, and individuals, even at this particular time? Do you guys suspect that these stimulus payments will be something we have to pay back, or how does that work?
Well, at the moment, from what I understand, they won't have to be paid back. The $1,200, how it's going to be done, I've heard it's going to be on our 2020 tax returns. But until we get there, I mean, and more of this is rolled out, we'll find out more about the implications of these $1,200. But supposedly right now, they're not going to be taxed.
Okay.
That
And
also
I also read that as well, that you will not have to repay, even if you receive excess credit when you do file your 2020 taxes. But potentially you could get a little bit of the credit added to your refund for 2020 if you did not receive the total amount due to income limits. But that is something that still needs to be clarified.
You're right on that. The thing is they're using 18 and 19 to determine who gets the stimulus, but your 2020 return is actually what's going to determine what you should have gotten or not.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. So there's supposed to be, and I don't know if you guys are aware, so the payroll protection program, of course, they're a little inundated with the banks and that sort of thing and getting that implemented. The IRS, they have been giving a somewhat of a credit. Are you guys aware of that credit information?
Well, there's a payroll tax credit, and it's sort of either or the way I understand
Right.
it. And if you take the payroll tax credit, you can't get the payroll protection pay.
The employee retention credit.
Yes, okay. So, but the thing is, if you get the tax credit, you're going to have to repay that starting in I can't remember if it was December of 2020 or 2021, but those monies are going to have to be repaid. The payroll protection or the employee credit is really the best one, in my opinion, that someone could go after, is because if you retain your employees, you can have that amount 100% forgiven as a grant. The other thing is 75% of whatever money you get will need to go towards retaining the employees. If you go over, then you might not have to repay the money.
Okay. So basically you can choose between the two. The reason I'm asking that is because the payroll protection program seems to a lot of banks, like just for example, Wells Fargo, they have stopped taking applicants. And if you do not have a relationship with a particular bank, then you may not even get the loan. So to have, and I think it's what is it, Form 7200, you can actually have an advance on that employer credit. Do you guys have information on that?
So this is the SBA loan for the $10,000.
No. So there's an employer credit due. The advance payment for the employer credit is Form 7200, and it's through the IRS website.
I don't think I'm as familiar with that one. I'll have to make some notes.
Yeah, it's
get more information on
credit.
that.
It's an employer credit, and you can actually get an advance payment on that employer credit.
Yeah, I've read something about it, but I haven't looked into it.
Okay. Alrighty. What additional, again, information are you do business owners need to take from this, and what do they need to set up? I mean, what do we need to do? Tell us something.
What is required? Is that what you're asking in order to receive these credits?
Not necessarily the stimulus funds, just in regard to any taxes, anything additional we need to be reporting, setting aside. What do we need to do?
I think making sure that you're maintaining your books is going to be very important during this time. One, for tax filing, but also for qualifying for the SBA loans that are being given out. I think right now the requirements are minimum, but eventually they will want income statements to make sure that the funds are being used appropriately. So I think that would be something that I would recommend to businesses to focus on now, is definitely making sure you have good bookkeeping right now.
Okay. And all of you guys offer bookkeeping, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But making sure they keep up with their payroll, and they keep up with all their income and expenses, because they have to verify those expenses that they use the money on. So they need to keep up with their books, definitely.
Okay.
I would advise all small companies to go to the SBA.gov's website and look in applying for a disaster relief loan. The loan is at an interest rate of 3.75%. If you have credit card debt or something like that you financed your business with, you might be able to refinance it by getting an SBA loan. And I understand also from the SBA loan, in the past, usually when you do an SBA loan, they want somebody to guarantee and maybe put up collateral and stuff like that, and some of that's being softened a little bit as we go forward. So everybody that has a business should really go in and look at it and start an application. It doesn't mean you have to go all the way through with the application, but when you start it, what they'll do is send you back some information, saying they'll send you a link when you can go in and start filling it out. And if you don't have your books up to date, you really need to try to get them up to date through at least December 31st of 2019, through either one of these individuals that are here or us if you choose to use us, because the SBA is probably potentially a bank down the road is going to want some of that information.
All right. Sheila mentioned it would be helpful to have an overview of the CARES Act for small business because there's a difference between W-2 employers and self-employed.
That is correct. If if you are a W-2 employer, you can apply for the payroll protection plan or the tax credit, the payroll tax credit, or deferment of the payroll taxes. If you treat people as 1099s, that gets a little bit more complicated. And if you've laid off employees, you're supposed to go on the DOL's website and do the application for their unemployment for them. But if they're a 1099, it creates a whole different situation. And I haven't worked all the way through it. I've talked to several people in the last few days about what they need to do. But actually, they're a business. They could go on and potentially do the payroll protection program because they're Schedule C in their tax return. Or they might be able to even go and apply for a loan through SBA.gov.
All right. So are all of you guys encouraging your small business to go ahead and apply for the disaster relief? And are you guys assisting with that application and the paperwork?
Well, yes, I advise our clients to do it. First, I told them to do the payroll protection program. The one thing is, if you get an SBA loan and the payroll protection program, you can't use the money for the same purposes. The payroll protection, needs to be for W-2 employees. Maybe if you get a small SBA loan, it could be for recapitalizing credit card debt, keeping, if you have a mortgage on, unless you're virtual, if you have a mortgage on a business property or something, it'll help you keep those things afloat. Or maybe you got vendors you need to pay. You could use the SBA loan for those purposes. But one of the things, if you do both, it's been very clear in the information I've read, is you don't want to commingle the funds. You got to keep it very separate and show exactly how you're using the funds, or the payroll protection program funds might not be treated as a grant.
Okay. Alischia, are you encouraging everyone as well?
Yes, I am. And I will be assisting with the documents to go along with the application process as well.
Okay. Tamecia?
Absolutely. One of the things that I found from the initial application is that they do at least ask, what is your current operation expenses, your gross. So I've helped clients with preparing that information just to fill out the initial application.
Okay. So Margaret McCoy said self-employed 1099s they have to apply for their own SBA paycheck protection. Is that a question or is that a statement? Oh, okay, statement. So self-employed 1099 has to apply for their own SBA.
Well, they're like a business. I
Yeah.
mean, they're their own independent business.
Right. I think so when you look at they would be considered, I guess, the contractors. And I know we're going to speak with DOL later, the commissioner, who and this is my understanding, the first time that they are allowing those who are self-employed or contractors to apply for unemployment insurance. From a tax standpoint, is there anything you guys want to add about that particular portion of things? Would you encourage your self-employed or contractors to apply for that?
Well, if they need income, yes. If they've
Okay.
been affected by the coronavirus, I mean, all of us have. Our biggest client sent us a letter the other day and said, "Slow down. We can't afford to pay you anymore."
Oh, wow.
And that's when you start getting information like that, that really hurts. And so what do you do? I mean, I think we're all, whether or not even in our industry, are being affected by the coronavirus. So, the small businesses, yes, they should, or the independent contractor should apply. The one thing, and it hasn't been addressed, is typically if you get unemployment insurance, it's taxable income in the following year. So
That's what I want y'all
those
to talk
payments
about.
might be taxable next year.
Say that part again. I'm
I
sorry.
said those payments from unemployment could be taxable next year. So people need to be aware of that.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
just speaking of getting additional resources during this time, um, one of the things that is in the CARE Act is the penalty-free retirement withdrawals for your 401k, your TSAs, and your SEPs, and also traditional IRAs. So those are allowed, and they are waiving the penalty on that up to $100,000. And you can take that, so it's taxable, but you can basically claim it over a 3-year period.
Oh, that's
Yes.
good.
I actually thought that was good information. So most people who know me know I'm former federal as well. So when we got an email from TSP that we could withdraw and have no penalty, I was like, oh my goodness.
Mhm. Just
That's
take the
good
taxes out
information.
if you
We still
can.
got to report it.
Yes.
Yes, because that goes into they count that as income, but for the most part, yes, no penalties. So definitely that's good information. Anything else, Alischia?
Well, I wanted to say, as far as the payroll protection program goes, if you're a new business that started in 2020, they will require your profit and loss statement for January and February when you're applying for the process.
Okay, and which process is this? Is this the
Well,
EITL?
the payroll protection program.
Okay, the payroll protection. Okay, Vanessa, as a small business, she was told that she could file for the employment disaster loan and the paycheck protection, even if they have 1099 contractors as employees. Is that true? Mm.
Yes, I've read that that is true, that it will cover not only staff that you pay wages to, but also contractors.
Okay. Okay. So yes, Vanessa. Did anyone have any questions? If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. If it's a long question and you feel like you need to ask, I will allow you to unmute yourself to go ahead and ask that question. Just say who you are and whatever your question is, guys.
Yeah, one comment I'd like to make is, you mentioned earlier about Wells Fargo has quit accepting the payroll protection loan applications.
Correct.
And, small businesses, typically like our business, we've always had a relationship with just one bank.
Community banks.
And yes, and which is good.
Yep.
But it doesn't hurt if you're with one of the big box banks to maybe have a relationship with another bank that might be able to help your needs more in times like this than the big box banks. I was helping a client over the weekend with their payroll protection program application, and it was and then we had another client we were working on sort of simultaneously. That's a Wells Fargo client. And, then it pops up and says, oh, we've already committed all of our money. Well, who did they commit it to? Nobody, it never popped up on their website over the weekend that they were accepting loans. It's just like they cherry picked their client base and said, these are the ones that you can apply for. I hope nobody's associated with
Right.
Wells Fargo, but I have a Wells Fargo account, but
Right.
I just think sometimes the smaller banks, community banks, can help smaller business more than the big box banks can.
I agree. So when we sent out the information last Friday, when the loan applications were going live, we said that if your lender does not do these loans, find another lender. We actually put that in the email. You know, Heritage Bank is a community bank. They've been supporters of our organization, and they, they're in Fayette, they're in Henry, they're in Clayton. I know that they're a community bank that you probably want to look at reaching out to as well. If your big banks like your Wells Fargo, and Bank of America is not accepting anymore. I don't think Bank of America said they're not accepting, but I know Wells Fargo definitely has shut that down. And I believe Chase is not, they're not even ready from the last report that I saw. So is there anything in addition, guys, that you feel like we need to take away from the CARE Act, from tax purposes, anything in relation to this time besides, one, make sure our books are in order? That's probably super, super important at this time because we are not sure as to what additional information they're going to need. So I'll let you go ahead. Alischia, I'll start with you.
Okay, I wanted to add that with the act, you're eligible for sick and family leave time. And with that, as also stated, you can't commingle that either. It's best to either apply for that beforehand or after you get your like payroll protection program or the ERC, the employment retention credit. So it doesn't affect that. So you're eligible for, I think sick leave is $511 a day for 10 days. That's the max. And for family time off, you get 50 days at $200 a day, equaling up to $10,000. I want to put that in there for anybody that needed to use that as well, so that they know that's available to them.
Okay, thank you. Tamecia?
Yes, so the CARE Act itself is over 500 pages, and it covers, the tax provisions, the economic stimulus, the business loans, healthcare, and much more. So I wanted to pull out a few things that I thought would help my clients. So on the individual tax side of things, we talked about the penalty-free retirement withdrawal and just making sure that you take taxes out. The penalty will be eliminated, but still taxable over 3 years. You can take up to $100,000 out. And the charitable contribution limits have been suspended for 2020. So generally it's no more than 60% of your AGI. So if you do have money to give right now, then you can definitely make a larger contribution and get the benefit from that. And also they are doing
information. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to have the money to give. If you're in that position to give, it could definitely benefit you on your 2020 taxes. And then they also have eliminated the need to meet the standard deduction to itemize charitable contributions as long as you have donated at least $300 in cash. You don't have to worry about meeting the itemized deduction limit. So that's another reason to potentially give during this time. It'll help you on your 2020 taxes. Also, they've increased the student loan interest payments so that you can basically deduct more of your student loan interest payments in 2020 as well when you file.
Now, say that again. When you say, what did you say about the interest payments?
So it's basically saying that the interest is going to be increased to $5,250. So that if basically the amount that you paid in student loan interest payments will be able to be deducted up to $5,250.
Okay.
And then just another thing that I actually found out through a client, if you have student loan payments that are defaulted or have back taxes, they are actually halting those garnishments, and they're halting them back to March 13th, I believe. So if your refund was offset to pay back student loans or to pay back back taxes, you could potentially get that money back. They're saying that they're going to be refunding $1.8 billion back to borrowers. So I think that that's great news. So if you have been maybe delaying filing because your refund is going to get offset, this would definitely be a good time to go ahead and file because you'll get a refund.
Okay. Hugh?
Well, there, like we've all talked about, there's a lot in this bill. Can you hear me? It didn't flip around. I don't know.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. There's a lot in the bill, and I think the takeaway is, we can all try to talk in generalities, but if you have a specific question or something like that, you ought to reach out to whomever you work with, your tax professional or your CPA, and work with them to help you, file for these programs, because it's going to take us all of us working together, the way I see it, to get through what's in front of us the next few months, and hopefully, we'll come out the other end better people and a better country.
Absolutely. Law Doug, full-time, he's a full-time college student. Will he get anything? I assume you're asking, will you get anything from the stimulus? I assume if you filed. Can you
Well,
guys answer that?
he could get something if he filed a tax return. It's according to his age. Is he on his parents' tax return? If
Right.
he's on his parents' tax return, then the answer is no.
Mhm.
So, with it again, there's so much in the package. There's a lot of specific questions that are maybe not relevant to everyone, and I know we couldn't address them all in this, but I'm sure tax professionals will be glad to help anyone that calls. I don't know about the rest of you, but my phone's been ringing off the hook ever since late last week, and when the package was announced.
Right. All right. So just as a recap, guys, so there is a push, I should say, to, if you are a small business, why not go ahead and apply for those EIDL funds, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. It is over a 30-year period for you to pay it back. You don't make your first payment for the first year. You can use it in conjunction with your payroll protection, the payroll protection program. If your big bank does not accept it, please, or they're not doing any more loans, make sure you reach out to those community banks. If you are a small business, please make sure you're keeping really, really good books. And if you do decide to do or file for unemployment insurance for self-employed and for contractors, make sure you understand that this is taxable funds, and definitely making sure you keep record of that. So if there are no more questions, guys, then I'm going to let the tax professionals get back to work.
All right.
So are there any more questions? Please, please, please. I know I got a text from someone saying they couldn't get in. I'm not sure. I know we sent out the email a couple times with the login information. So this is recorded. If there are, so people can refer back to it, we'll send the recording out. And if anyone needs to reach you guys, can you guys tell us how to reach you? Tamecia, can you start us off?
Sure. You can reach us by calling 678-288-4811, or you can visit our website, virtualtaxrefund.com. And we are currently available only remotely until further notice, but we are accepting appointments Monday through Saturday. And I'm also providing a special discount for virtual tax services at this time. So for additional information, just call and ask for Tamecia.
Hugh?
Well, you can reach Brumlow and Company at 770-996-5440. If you want to check out our website, it's www.brumlow and it's spelled out andcompany.com. Or if you know Sheila Brumlow, you can reach out to Sheila Brumlow because she's really well known in the Fayette County area, and she will put you in touch with one of our CPAs.
Thank you. Alischia?
Yes, you can reach us at 888-863-6336 or via the website www.expresstaxsrbcs.com.
All right. Anything else? Any last words? People are still actually coming in.
The last
Any
word.
additional questions, guys, before we let the tax professionals go? They have given their contact information. Again, this is recorded. If there is any additional questions, please ask them now.
And Ariel, I did just want to mention something quickly that I got a question about that I thought was a great question from a client. They were wondering basically if they elected to pay their preparation fee through a bank product using refund transfer.
Right.
Would they be getting their refund through that same method? Some of the clients actually use our Walmart money card to get their refunds, and they wanted to find out if that information would be used for the stimulus payments. So I just wanted to basically reach out and ask my fellow tax experts, have you heard anything about that? Because that information has still not been made clear to me.
That is a good question. I haven't. I think we should call those providers and see if they've heard anything themselves, because I did hear at some point that other vendors were trying to get in on helping disperse those funds. So I think we should just call those refund transfer banks and see how that may work.
Okay. Hugh, have you heard anything?
Well, we don't deal with the refund transfers. We never have. We like our clients to do direct deposit to their own accounts because of the fees associated with the refund transfers. One thing that I just thought of is if you are a small business and you're using QuickBooks Online, you're able to apply for the payroll protection program. And I'm not sure the date. I think it's the 10th. They'll start accepting applications through QuickBooks Online.
Yeah. So there were two parts of the payroll protection application date. The 4th was the first date and the 10th is the second date.
Right.
All right. So in regard to where will the recording be, we will upload it to our YouTube and we'll send it out if you're on our email list. How does unemployment insurance work? Did any of you guys want to answer that particular question?
Well, if you're an employer and you've laid your people off, you, the employer, is supposed to go in to the DOL's website, and I haven't done this, so I'm not sure exactly how it works, and put in the information for the individuals to get their unemployment compensation. Now, if you're an individual and you've been laid off, you need to check with your employer and make sure that they've done the application for you. I know I had someone calling yesterday wanting to know how to go about applying, and I said, well, their employer needed to apply for them because they were laid off because of coronavirus. And if you're a self-employed, I would just go on the Department of Labor's website, and there should be some links or guidelines on there on how to go about applying.
Yes, and I would encourage you to tune into our 1:00 session with the DOL commissioner, who, of course, will be able to answer a lot more about the unemployment insurance and how that works. Margaret said that she missed your contact information, Alischia.
I'll go ahead and put it in the chat.
Okay. All right. And actually, all of you guys can go ahead and put it in the chat. So if there is nothing else, I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate you taking the time to give us some information and clarify some items for us. The tax professionals are putting their information in the chat box for those who need their direct contact. Tamecia, there is everyone can, is there a link for the 1 o'clock meeting? The 1 o'clock meeting, again, if you register through Eventbrite for this particular meeting, yes, it is on there as well. So I encourage you guys to go ahead and register for the 1 o'clock meeting with the DOL Commissioner, Mark Butler. All right, Tamecia, Hugh, Alischia, I appreciate you all. Thank you for taking this
Thank you for
time
having
out
us.
this morning.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one. Everyone have an amazing day, and hopefully we'll see you back at the 1 o'clock session. Thank you.